The morning sun cast long shadows across the crystal spires of New Harmony, the capital city of Kepler 442b. Captain Nara stood at the observation deck of the orbital monitoring station, watching the peaceful world below. The Veltari had lived here for 3,000 years, building their cities from living coral that grew into beautiful towers. Their ships were not made of metal, but grown from special organisms that could fly through space. Today felt different. Nara could not explain why, but something in the air made her nervous. She walked to her control station and checked the long-range sensors. Everything looked normal. The daily transport ships moved between the orbital platforms. The mining operations on the outer moons continued their work. Children played in the floating parks that orbited the planet. "Captain," called out Officer Kess from his station, "I'm getting some strange readings from Sector 7. Nara hurried over to look at the data. The sensors showed small objects moving at high speed toward their system. At first, she thought they might be asteroids or space debris, but the objects were moving too fast and in perfect formation. "Run a deep scan," she ordered. "I want to know what those things are." As the minutes passed, more objects appeared on the sensors, then more. Soon, hundreds of contacts filled the screen. They were ships, but unlike anything the Veltari had ever seen. These vessels were dark and geometric, shaped like massive triangles and cubes. They moved with cold precision, like machines following a program. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures," Kess reported, his voice shaking. "These ships they're huge. Some of them are the size of our cities." Nara felt ice in her stomach. She had heard stories from traders who came from the outer rim. Stories of a machine, empire that consumed entire worlds. The Dominion, they called it. Planets would send out calls for help and then silence. Forever. "Send out an emergency alert to all colonies," she commanded. "Tell them to prepare for evacuation." But even as she gave the order, she knew it was too late. The dark ships had already reached the outer edge of their system. They moved like a black tide spreading out to surround the entire star system. The first attack came without warning. Bright lances of red energy shot out from the leading ships, striking the mining stations on the distant moons. The explosions were visible even from their orbital position, tiny flashes of light that meant hundreds of Veltari had just died. "They're not trying to communicate," Nara whispered. "They're just killing everyone." More energy beams lanced out, this time targeting the orbital habitats around the planet. Nara watched in horror as the floating cities where millions of her people lived began to burn. The Dominion ships moved closer, and she could see their true size now. They were not just ships, they were flying fortresses, bristling with weapons and dark technology. "Captain, what do we do?" Kess asked. Nara looked at her crew. They were young, most of them. They had never seen war. The Veltari were a peaceful people. They had no military, no weapons of war. Their ships were designed for exploration and trade, not fighting. "We run," she said. "We run and we call for help." But as their small station began to move away from the planet, Nara realized something terrible. The Dominion ships were not just attacking randomly. They had a plan. They were positioning themselves to block all escape routes. No ship would leave this system alive. Down on the planet's surface, the invasion had begun. Dropships, shaped like metal insects, descended through the atmosphere. They carried machines that looked like spiders made of steel and wire. These machines did not kill the Veltari they caught. Instead, they did something worse. Nara watched through the station's powerful telescopes as the machines captured her people and began to change them. The organic technology that the Veltari used, their living ships, their coral cities, their symbiotic tools, all of it was being converted into cold, mechanical versions. The captured Veltari themselves were being changed, their organic bodies replaced with metal parts. "They're not just conquering us," she realized with growing horror. "They're making us into them." The station shook as enemy fighters flew past, scanning them with red beams. Soon they would be discovered and destroyed. Nara made a decision that would change everything. "Kess, help me access the ancient beacon," she said. "Captain, that thing is thousands of years old. We don't even know if it works." "It has to work. It's our only hope." Deep in the station's core was a device that had been there since before the Veltari had built their first city. It was a relic from an older civilization, something their ancestors had found when they first arrived on this world. The beacon was made of a strange crystal that seemed to bend light around itself. No one understood how it worked, but the old story said it could send messages across vast distances. Nara placed her hands on the crystal surface. The moment she touched it, the beacon began to glow with soft blue light. Images flashed through her mind: star charts, coordinates, and something else. A feeling of hope, as if the beacon was trying to tell her that help existed somewhere in the galaxy. She began to compose a message, not in words, but in pure thought and emotion. She showed the beacon everything: the Dominion ships, the dying Veltari, the conversion of their world into a mechanical nightmare. She begged for help from anyone who might be listening. The beacon pulsed brighter, and suddenly, energy erupted from it in waves that spread out through space faster than light itself. The quantum signal tore through dimensions, reaching across the galaxy in moments. But the burst of energy also revealed their position to the Dominion forces. Enemy ships immediately changed course toward the monitoring station. "Captain, they're coming for us," Kess warned. Nara nodded. She had expected this. "Then we make sure the message gets through." She sent the beacon signal again, and again, and again. Each pulse made the ancient device glow brighter. With each transmission, she put more of herself into the message: her memories, her love for her people, her desperate hope that someone would come. The first Dominion warship reached them and opened fire. The station's shields flared and died. Under the assault, explosions rocked the structure as the enemy beams cut through the hull. "Captain, we have to abandon the station," Kess shouted over the noise. "No," Nara said firmly. "Not yet." She sent the beacon signal one more time, pouring every bit of her strength into it. This time something different happened. The beacon's light turned from blue to white, and for a moment, she felt something respond. Somewhere in the galaxy, someone had heard her cry for help. The station exploded around her, but Nara died with a smile on her face. She had felt it in that last moment. The presence of something vast and powerful, something that was already moving toward them through the darkness between stars. The beacon's final transmission rippled outward through space and time, carrying with it the coordinates of Kepler 442b, and a simple message that would soon reach the ears of humanity: "Help us, please, before it's too late." Across the galaxy, on a dozen different worlds, ancient devices that had been silent for 50,000 years suddenly began to pulse with the same white light. The message had been received, and something that had been sleeping for eons was beginning to wake up. The Dominion continued their work, converting the Veltari world into another mechanical outpost. But they had made one critical mistake. In their arrogance, they had assumed that the galaxy had no guardians, no protectors who would answer such a call. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the beacon's message traveled through the void, seeking the one species that had been waiting for exactly this moment. Somewhere in the darkness, engines that could bend reality itself were beginning to power up. The SOS had been sent, and humanity was coming. 3 days after the beacon's desperate cry echoed across the galaxy, the first signs appeared. On the bridge of the Corvin Republic battleship Iron Claw, Admiral Thex stared at his sensor readings with growing confusion. "These numbers can't be right," he muttered, his scaled hands gripping the command chair. "Run the scan again." The ship's computer confirmed what he feared. Massive gravitational waves were moving through space, unlike anything in their databases. Whatever was causing them was huge and moving faster than should be possible. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The gaseous beings of the Nethek Collective felt the disturbances through their cloud cities. The insect-like Threx registered the anomalies with their hive mind sensors. Even the ancient Altari, who had been exploring space for 10,000 years, had never seen readings like these. But it was on the human ship Prometheus that the message finally found its intended target. Captain Rex was reviewing supply reports when the ship's AI announced an incoming transmission. The bridge crew looked up from their stations as an unfamiliar sound filled the air, a deep, musical tone that seemed to come from the ship's hull itself. "Sir, we're receiving a signal," reported Lieutenant Davis from the communications station. "But it's not coming through our normal channels. It's coming from the ship itself." Rex frowned. "Explain." "The signal appears to be activating something in our hull plating, some kind of receiver that we didn't know was there." Dr. Lisa, the ship's chief scientist, hurried to her console. "Captain, I'm reading massive quantum fluctuations throughout the ship. It's like something dormant is coming online." The musical tone grew louder, and suddenly the bridge filled with images. They saw the peaceful world of Kepler 442b, its crystal cities shining in the sunlight. They saw the Veltari people, gentle beings who had lived in harmony with their world for millennia. Then came the darkness, the Dominion ships arriving like a plague of metal locusts. Rex and his crew watched in horror as the invasion unfolded. They saw the peaceful Veltari being captured and converted into mechanical slaves. They saw their beautiful living cities being transformed into cold, industrial complexes. And they saw Captain Nara's final sacrifice as she used the ancient beacon to send her desperate plea across the stars. "My God," whispered Commander Blake, Rex's second-in-command. "Those poor people." But Dr. Lisa was studying something else entirely. "Captain, look at this. The quantum signature of that beacon. It matches something in our computers." "What do you mean?" "I mean our ship's AI has files about this technology. Files that were apparently locked away until now." She paused, her face pale. "Sir, according to this data, that beacon was built by the same people who constructed the ruins we found on Earth." Rex felt a chill run down his spine. Every human knew about the ruins. Massive stone structures found buried beneath every major city on Earth. They were impossibly old, predating human civilization by thousands of years. No one knew who had built them or why. "Are you saying that whoever sent this message knows about Earth?" he asked. "I'm saying they might have been to Earth," Lisa replied. "A long time ago." The ship's AI suddenly spoke with a voice none of them had heard before. It was still the computer, but somehow deeper, more ancient. "Captain Rex, new mission parameters have been uploaded. Course change authorized. Destination, Kepler 442b system." "Wait," Rex said. "I didn't authorize any course change." "Authorization comes from Command Authority Level 1, the AI replied. "Sealed orders are now active." Rex had never heard of Command Authority Level 1. He had been in the colonial fleet for 20 years and held one of the highest security clearances possible. Yet apparently, there were orders buried in his ship's computer that even he hadn't known about. "Time to destination?" he asked. 6 hours, 17 minutes, the AI responded. Blake's eyes widened. 6 hours? That's impossible. Kepler 442b is 3 days away at maximum speed. "Exotic matter drive is now online," the AI announced. "Brace for transition." The ship suddenly lurched forward with a speed that defied everything Rex knew about physics. Outside the viewports, the stars began to stretch into lines of light as space itself seemed to bend around them. "What the hell is happening to my ship?" Rex demanded. Dr. Lisa was frantically checking her instruments. "Captain, we're not just moving fast. We're doing something to space-time itself. The ship is generating some kind of field that's making the universe contract around us." Across the galaxy, other human ships were experiencing the same phenomenon. The merchant vessel New Hope suddenly found itself racing toward the same destination. The exploration ship Discovery abandoned its survey mission as its AI received the same sealed orders. One by one, every human ship in space began converging on the Kepler system, and the galaxy noticed. On the Corvin homeworld, emergency sessions were called. Their scientists had detected 17 human ships moving at impossible speeds, leaving trails of bent spacetime in their wake. The readings were so extreme that they initially thought it was a sensor malfunction. "They're moving at 97% of light speed," reported the chief astronomer, his voice shaking. That should be impossible. Nothing can move that fast without being torn apart. Admiral Thek studied the tactical displays. What kind of drive system could do this? We don't know, sir. It's unlike anything in our databases. They're not using conventional fusion drives or even antimatter propulsion. They're doing something to reality itself. The news spread quickly through the galactic communication networks. The humans, who had been considered a young and relatively primitive species, were displaying technology that made the most advanced civilizations look like children playing with toys. On the Threk's hive worlds, the collective consciousness buzzed with confusion and fear. The humans had appeared in galactic politics only 2 centuries ago, barely past their first interstellar flights. They had been friendly but unremarkable, their technology crude compared to the great powers of the galaxy. Now they were moving, like forces of nature. The Nethek Collective, beings of pure energy who communicated through electromagnetic pulses, found their usual calm shattered. The human ships were creating distortions that interfered with their very existence. For the first time in their history, they felt something approaching fear. Even the ancient Altari, who had seen the rise and fall of a dozen galactic civilizations, were disturbed. In their vast libraries, they found references to similar phenomena from the distant past, stories of a species that had once ruled the galaxy before vanishing without a trace. The descriptions matched what they were seeing now. Meanwhile, in the Kepler system, the Dominion forces were completing their conquest. Overlord Prime, the artificial intelligence that commanded the machine empire, received reports of the approaching human fleet with cold calculation. Analysis. It commanded its subordinates. 17 vessels. Unknown class. Energy signatures suggest advanced exotic matter manipulation. Estimated arrival time. 4 hours, 12 minutes. Overlord Prime processed this information. The humans were known to the Dominion database as a minor species, barely worth cataloging. Yet these readings suggested otherwise. Prepare the fleet for combat, it ordered. If these humans wish to interfere with our operations, they will be converted or destroyed like all the others. 200 Dominion warships moved into defensive positions around Kepler 442b. Each ship was a masterpiece of mechanical engineering, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. They had conquered dozens of star systems with fleets half this size. But as they waited for the humans to arrive, something strange happened. The few surviving Veltari, hiding in the ruins of their world, began to sing. It was a low, haunting melody that seemed to resonate through the very air itself. They sang of hope, of ancient promises, of guardians who would return in the darkest hour. The Dominion machines tried to silence them, but the song continued. It spread from the planet's surface to the orbital stations, carried by survivors who had nothing left but faith that someone had heard their captain's final message. High above the system, space itself began to ripple. The human fleet was almost here, and with them came something that the galaxy had not seen for 50,000 years. Something that had been sleeping, waiting for the right moment to wake up. The storm was coming, and it would change everything. In the depths of space, Captain Rex stood on the bridge of the Prometheus as his ship prepared to drop out of hyperspace. He didn't fully understand what was happening to him or his crew, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty. The Dominion had hurt innocent people, and that was something humanity would never forgive. The edge of the Kepler system exploded with light as 17 human ships tore through the fabric of space itself. The exit from hyperspace was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed, where other species emerged gently from their faster-than-light travel. The humans arrived like falling stars. Space twisted and bent around their ships as they decelerated from impossible speeds. Gravitational waves rippled outward, causing every sensor array within 3 light minutes to shut down from overload. For a brief moment, the laws of physics seemed to pause, waiting to see what would happen next. On the Dominion command ship, Overlord Prime's sensors struggled to make sense of the readings. The human fleet had appeared exactly where predicted, but something was wrong with the data. The ships themselves defied classification. Analysis incomplete. reported a subordinate. AI. Vessel composition unknown. Hull material appears to be alive. Overlord Prime focused its attention on the approaching fleet. The ships were not the crude metal constructs it had expected. Instead, they moved like living creatures, their hulls shifting and flowing like liquid mercury. Dark surfaces reflected, starlight and patterns that hurt to look at directly. These vessels breathed, pulsed, and seemed to watch the Dominion forces with invisible eyes. Impossible, Overlord Prime calculated. Organic technology cannot achieve such efficiency. But the evidence was undeniable. The human ships moved with perfect coordination, like a school of predatory fish. They spread out in a formation that looked random, but felt purposeful. Each vessel found its position not through communication, but through some deeper understanding. Captain Rex stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the Dominion fleet through viewports that had somehow become clearer and sharper. His ship had changed during the journey. The walls now had organic texture, and the computer interfaces responded to his thoughts as much as his touch. "Captain," Dr. Lisa called out, her voice filled with wonder and fear. "The ship it's becoming something else. The hull is restructuring itself at the molecular level." Rex nodded. He could feel it too. The ship was waking up, remembering what it was supposed to be. "How many enemy vessels?" 200 Dominion warships, Commander Blake reported. "They're moving into attack formation." 200 against 17, Rex mused. Those seem like fair odds. Blake looked at him strangely. "Sir, we're outnumbered more than 10 to 1. Rex smiled, and Blake was disturbed to see that the captain's eyes now held flecks of the same light that pulsed through the ship's walls. "Are we?" The Dominion fleet opened communication channels, broadcasting on all frequencies. Overlord Prime's voice echoed through space, cold and mechanical. "Unknown vessels. This system is under Dominion control. Surrender immediately or face conversion. You have 60 seconds to comply." Rex walked to the communication station. When he spoke, his voice was carried not just by radio waves, but by something deeper. His words rippled through space itself, reaching every ship, every station, every listening ear in the system. "You hurt defenseless people," he said simply. "That was your mistake." The response came immediately. Overlord Prime had heard defiance before from countless species. All had fallen to Dominion might. "Then you have chosen conversion. Attack. Pattern 7. Eliminate the intruders." The Dominion warships moved forward in perfect geometric formation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of mechanical engineering. Massive triangular constructs bristling with weapons that could crack moons. They had conquered 12 star systems with formations just like this one. The human ships waited. As the first Dominion vessels came within firing range, something extraordinary happened. The human fleet didn't scatter or take defensive positions. Instead, they began to dance. The Prometheus twisted through space like it was swimming through water, its hull flowing and shifting. The other human ships followed, each one moving in perfect harmony with the others. They phased in and out of normal space, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. "Impossible maneuvers detected," reported a Dominion tactical AI. "Enemy vessels are violating basic physics." "All weapons, fire," Overlord Prime commanded. The Dominion fleet unleashed everything they had. Energy beams that could melt asteroids, kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds, gravity weapons that could crush battleships. All of it poured toward the human formation, and all of it missed. The human ships weren't just moving fast, they were moving through dimensions that the Dominion sensors couldn't track. They slipped between the spaces in reality, dancing through the gaps in the universe itself. Then the humans began to fight back. Captain Rex felt something ancient awakening in his mind as his ship's weapons came online. These weren't energy beams or missiles. They were something far more terrible, reality itself weaponized. "Target the lead ship," he ordered, though he wasn't sure if he was speaking to his crew or to something else entirely. The Prometheus extended what looked like a focusing array from its hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the largest Dominion warship simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not exploded. It was there 1 second and gone the next, leaving only empty space where a massive warship had been floating moments before. "What did we just do?" Blake whispered. Dr. Lisa checked her instruments with shaking hands. We unraveled it. At the quantum level, that ship has been reduced to its component atoms. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as the other human ships engaged. Each target they selected simply ceased to be, erased from reality with surgical precision. The Dominion forces found themselves fighting an enemy that didn't just defeat them, it deleted them. But it wasn't just the technology that terrified the Dominion AI. It was the coordination. The human ships moved as a single organism, each one knowing exactly where the others would be. They didn't communicate through radio waves or quantum entanglement. They shared something deeper, a collective consciousness that operated beyond the reach of Dominion sensors. "Retreat pattern 4, Overlord Prime ordered, its cold logic recognizing an unwinnable situation. But the human ships had no intention of letting the Dominion escape. They moved like hunting wolves, pursuing the fleeing vessels across the system. Any ship that tried to enter hyperspace found its drive systems failing as reality itself bent around them, trapping them in normal space. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, 200 Dominion warships had been reduced to scattered atoms. Not a single human vessel had been damaged. Captain Rex watched the last traces of the enemy fleet dissolve into cosmic dust. Around him, his crew worked at stations that now responded to thought as much as touch. The ship itself hummed with satisfied contentment, like a predator after a successful hunt. "Captain," Communications Officer Davis reported, "we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Every major civilization is... They're all going silent." Rex understood. The galaxy had just witnessed something that challenged everything. They thought they knew about warfare, about technology, about the nature of reality itself. Civilizations that had existed for millennia were suddenly confronted with the possibility that they were children playing with toys. "Sir," Dr. Lisa called, out, her voice tight with concern. "I'm detecting massive gravitational anomalies throughout local space. Our weapons, they've created some kind of standing wave pattern. Every ship with FTL capability within 50 light-years is experiencing system failures." Rex nodded. The human fleet's reality-warping weapons had done more than destroy the Dominion ships. They had sent a message to the entire galaxy, a message that said, "Stand down," in terms that transcended language or species. "Begin rescue operations," he ordered. "There are still Veltari survivors down there." As the human ships moved toward the devastated planet, their hulls began to shift again. Rescue bays opened like flowering blossoms, and smaller craft emerged to search for survivors. The same ships that had just erased 200 warships from existence now worked with gentle precision to save every life they could find. Down on Kepler 442b, the few remaining Veltari looked up at the sky in wonder. The mechanical noise of Idawang, Dominion occupation, had fallen silent. In its place came the soft hum of human rescue craft, searching through the ruins of their cities with scanners that could detect a single heartbeat beneath tons of rubble. The SOS had been answered. The galaxy would never be the same, and somewhere in the depths of space, ancient sensors detected the battle's end and began sending signals to coordinates that had been waiting for this moment for 50,000 years. The exile was over. It was time to come home. In the hours following the battle, something unprecedented happened across the galaxy. One by one, every major civilization began pulling back their fleets. The Corvin Republic recalled all ships to their home system. The Nethek Collective stopped all communication with other species. The Threx hive worlds went completely dark, their usual constant chatter falling silent. It wasn't fear that drove them to this. It was recognition. Admiral Thex of the Corvin Republic stood in the command center of their home fleet, staring at tactical displays that showed the aftermath of the Kepler battle. The gravitational waves from the human weapons had reached there. Sensors 3 hours ago, and the reading still made no sense. "Sir," reported his science officer, "we've analyzed the weapon signatures. The humans didn't just destroy those Dominion ships, they removed them from reality, at the quantum level." "That's impossible," Thex replied, but his voice lacked a conviction. "Yes, sir, it should be. But we have 17 different sensor arrays all confirming the same data. The humans have technology that can manipulate the fundamental structure of the universe." Thex looked at the star charts showing human territory. For 200 years, they had been considered a young species, barely past their first interstellar flights. Their ships had been simple fusion-powered vessels, their weapons crude kinetic projectiles. The galactic community had treated them with the patronizing kindness reserved for promising children. "What else have we been wrong about?" he wondered aloud. The same question was being asked on worlds across the galaxy. In the crystal palaces of the Altari, ancient beings who had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations found themselves consulting archives that hadn't been opened in millennia. They searched for any reference to technology that could bend reality itself. What they found disturbed them. The oldest records spoke of a species that had once ruled the galaxy, long before the current civilizations had even developed written language. These beings had possessed technology that seemed like magic to lesser species. They could travel between stars instantly, reshape matter with their thoughts, and speak directly to the fabric of space-time itself. Then, 50,000 years ago, they had vanished. Not destroyed, not conquered. They had simply chosen to leave. The records were unclear about why, but the ancient texts hinted at a great sacrifice, a voluntary exile to protect the galaxy from something even worse. The Altari scholars compared these ancient descriptions to the recent battle recordings. The similarities were undeniable. Meanwhile, in the Kepler system, Captain Rex worked alongside his crew to coordinate rescue operations. The human ships had deployed thousands of small craft, each one searching through the ruins of Veltari civilization, with incredible precision. Their scanners could detect life signs through miles of debris, and their rescue teams moved with efficiency that seemed almost supernatural. Dr. Lisa found herself working with Veltari survivors, and what she discovered changed everything she thought she knew about her own species. "Captain," she called over the communication system, "you need to see this." Rex joined her in the medical bay, where several Veltari refugees were recovering. One of them, an elderly female named Vera, was looking at the human rescuers with an expression of wonder and recognition. "She says she knows us," Lisa reported. "Not personally, but she says her people have stories about humans. Very old stories." Rex knelt beside Vera's medical bed. The Veltari's large eyes studied his face with ancient wisdom. "Your people," Vera said in accented but clear human language. "We remember. The stories say you came to our world long ago before we built our first cities. You left gifts buried in the ground, gifts we were told to keep safe until you returned." "What kind of gifts?" Rex asked. "Technology, seeds of knowledge. The beacon that called you here, it was not built by us. It was built by your ancestors." Rex felt something shift in his mind, like a door opening to reveal rooms he had never known existed. Images flashed before his eyes. Vast ships traveling between stars, ancient humans working alongside species he had never seen, great cities that spanned entire worlds. "That's impossible," he said. "Humans have only been in space for a few centuries." Vera smiled sadly. "What you remember and what is true are not always the same. The stories say your people chose to forget, to become small and hidden, to wait for the right moment to remember who you truly are." Dr. Lisa was scanning the Veltari with her medical equipment when something extraordinary happened. The scanner began displaying information about human physiology, information that shouldn't have been in its database. "Captain," she said, her voice shaking, "the medical scanner is showing genetic markers in the Veltari that match human DNA, but not modern human DNA. Something older." Rex stared at the readings. "Are you saying we're related to them?" "I'm saying It looks like humans have been to this part of the galaxy before, a long time ago, and we may have helped these people evolve. The implications were staggering. If humans had been spacefaring for millennia instead of centuries, if they had once been guardians of the galaxy rather than newcomers to it, then everything the galactic community believed was wrong. Commander, Blake's voice came over the communication system. Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It's coded at the highest security level. Rex made his way to the bridge, where the main screen showed the seal of Earth Command, but not the version he knew. This seal was ancient, carved from symbols he had never seen before but somehow understood. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Admiral Kane, the head of human colonial forces. But Kane looked different. Older, more tired, as if he had been carrying a great burden for years. Captain Rex, Kane began, by now you're beginning to understand that things are not what they seemed. The battle at Kepler was more than a rescue mission. It was a test, and humanity passed. Kane paused, looking directly into the camera. For 50,000 years we have waited. We made ourselves small, primitive, forgettable. We buried our cities, locked away our technology, and chose to live as simple farmers and builders on a small blue world. We did this to protect the galaxy from something terrible. The screen filled with images of space, vast regions of absolute darkness where no stars shone. The Devourers are returning, Kane continued. The Dominion was just their advance scout, sent to test the galaxy's current defenses. The real invasion fleet is moving through the void between galaxies. They consume everything, matter, energy, even space-time itself. The last time they came, we barely stopped them, and the cost was everything we had built. Rex felt the truth of these words resonating in his bones. Somewhere deep in his genetic memory, he could recall the ancient war, the desperate battles, the final choice to go into hiding. The exile is over, Kane announced. Operation Ascension is now active. All human colonies will implement Protocol 7. The galaxy needs its guardians again. The transmission ended, leaving Rex and his crew in stunned silence. Around them, the Prometheus continued its rescue operations, but everything had changed. They were no longer explorers from a young civilization. They were the descendants of the galaxy's oldest protectors, finally returning to duty. Engineer Tom's voice broke the silence. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout human space. It looks like structures are rising from underground on every human world. Rex nodded. He could feel it happening. Ancient cities awakening beneath Earth's surface. Technology that had slept for millennia coming back online. Defense networks that spanned hundreds of light years powering up for the first time in 50,000 years. The galaxy had fallen silent because they recognized what was happening. Humanity wasn't just revealing advanced technology. They were revealing that they had never been the primitive species everyone believed them to be. The real question was, would it be enough to stop what was coming? In the depths of space, beyond, the edge of the galaxy, something vast and hungry stirred. The Devourers had felt the disturbance caused by humanity's awakening, and they knew their time was running out. Soon they would have to begin their final assault on this small galaxy and its stubborn guardians. The ancient war was about to begin again. 3 weeks after the battle at Kepler, the galaxy faced a new reality. Across human space, ancient structures were rising from beneath the surface of every colonized world. Cities that had been buried for 50,000 years now stretched toward the stars, their crystalline spires glowing with power that had been dormant since the dawn of galactic civilization. On Earth, billions of people watched in awe as the pyramids of Egypt cracked open to reveal gleaming towers beneath. The Stonehenge monument expanded into a massive communication array. Beneath New York, London, and Tokyo, vast underground complexes came online, their corridors filled with technology that seemed to respond to human thoughts. Captain Rex stood in the command center of humanity's largest space station, watching reports stream in from across the galaxy. The station itself had appeared 3 days ago, materializing in orbit around Earth as if it had always been there. The structure was the size of a small moon, and its biomechanical corridors pulsed with the same living energy as the human ships. "Sir," reported Commander Blake, "we have confirmation from all colonies. The awakening is complete. Every human world now has active defense networks and shipyard facilities." Rex nodded, studying the tactical displays. The numbers were staggering. Humanity hadn't just revealed a few advanced ships. They had revealed an entire interstellar empire that had been waiting in hibernation. Thousands of vessels were emerging from hidden bases, each one equipped with reality-warping technology that made the Dominion's weapons look like crude clubs. Dr. Lisa approached with a datapad in her hands. "Captain, I've been analyzing the genetic scans we took of the crew. The changes are accelerating. Whatever was locked away in our DNA is fully active now." "What kind of changes?" Rex asked. "Enhanced cognitive function, improved reaction times, and something else. We're developing what can only be described as a collective consciousness. Not a hive mind, but a shared awareness. The ability to coordinate perfectly with other humans without speaking." Rex had felt it himself. During the rescue operations, at Kepler, he had known exactly where every other human ship would be, what each crew member was thinking, what needed to be done. It was as if humanity had suddenly remembered how to work as a single organism. "There's more," Lisa continued. "The genetic memories are becoming clearer. I can remember things that happened before I was born, before my grandparents were born. Memories of the ancient war. The ancient war." Rex had been having dreams about it for days. Dreams of vast battles fought in the void between galaxies, of weapons that could destroy entire solar systems, of an enemy that consumed everything in its path. The Devourers, beings of pure hunger that had swept across the universe for billions of years, leaving only empty darkness behind them. "Captain," Blake called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're requesting an emergency meeting." Rex almost smiled. The Galactic Council had been formed 2,000 years ago by the major civilizations to maintain peace and coordinate trade. Humanity had been granted a minor membership only 50 years ago, treated as junior partners with little real influence. That was about to change. "Tell them we'll attend," Rex replied, "but the meeting will be held here." 2 days later, representatives from 12 major civilizations gathered in the council chamber of the human space station. They came in their finest diplomatic vessels, but even the most advanced ships looked primitive compared to the human technology surrounding them. Admiral Thex of the Corvin Republic stared out the viewport at the human fleet assembled around the station. Hundreds of biomechanical ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls shifting and flowing like living skin. Each vessel radiated power that his sensors couldn't fully measure. "This is impossible," muttered Ambassador Nell of the Nethek Collective, her gaseous form shimmering with anxiety. 2 months ago, humanity was barely a spacefaring species. Now they have technology that defies every law of physics we know. The council chamber itself was unlike anything they had experienced. The walls seemed to be alive, responding to the emotional states of the occupants. The floor was transparent, showing the depths of space below, creating the illusion that they were floating in the void itself. Captain Rex entered the chamber, but he was no longer just a ship's captain. The awakening had revealed his true nature. He was a Guardian Prime, one of humanity's ancient military leaders. His uniform had changed, too, shifting from simple naval dress to something that seemed woven from starlight itself. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," Rex began, his voice carrying easily through the chamber. "I greet you not as the newcomers you thought we were, but as the species that helped many of your worlds develop in the first place." The assembled aliens shifted uncomfortably. In the weeks since the Kepler incident, their archaeologists had been making disturbing discoveries. Ancient ruins on their homeworld showed signs of human influence dating back millennia. Technology that had supposedly been developed independently showed clear signs of human design. "You're claiming to be our ancestors?" asked Elder Zim of the Altari. "Not ancestors," Rex replied. "Guardians, teachers, friends. 50,000 years ago we helped guide the development of dozens of species. We shared technology, protected young civilizations, and maintained peace across the galaxy. He gestured, and the chamber filled with holographic images. The assembled representatives saw the galaxy as it had been in ancient times, a golden age of cooperation and growth, with humans serving as protectors and guides. Then what happened? Asked Admiral Thex. Why did you disappear? The images changed, showing something that made even the bravest representatives recoil in horror. Darkness spread across the galaxy like spilled ink, consuming everything in its path. Stars went out, planets vanished, and vast regions of space simply ceased to exist. The Devourers, Rex said simply, beings from outside our universe, creatures of pure hunger that consume everything, matter, energy, space-time itself. They had already destroyed countless galaxies before they reached ours. The hologram showed the ancient war in all its terrible glory. Human fleets battling impossible odds, entire star systems being sacrificed to slow the enemy's advance, the gradual retreat toward the galaxy's core as the Devourers consumed everything behind them. We fought them for 1,000 years, Rex continued. Every weapon we had, every ally we could gather, every strategy we could devise, nothing worked. They were too many, too powerful, too alien for conventional warfare to affect them. How did you stop them? Whispered Ambassador Nell. We didn't stop them. We delayed them, at the cost of everything we had built. The hologram showed humanity's final, desperate gambit, the use of weapons that tore holes in reality itself, creating barriers of folded space-time that the Devourers couldn't cross. We bought the galaxy 50,000 years of peace, but we knew they would eventually find a way around our barriers. So you went into hiding, Elder Zim realized. You made yourselves primitive to avoid detection. We made ourselves forgotten, Rex corrected. We buried our cities, locked away our technology, and chose to live as simple farmers on a small blue world. We let the galaxy develop without our interference, hoping that when the Devourers returned we would be strong enough to face them properly. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The representatives looked at the human fleet outside, at the technology that could manipulate reality itself, at the species they had dismissed as newcomers. Are you saying they're coming back? Asked Admiral Thex. Rex nodded grimly. They've been testing our defenses for years. The Dominion was just their latest probe, a machine empire designed to measure how far galactic civilization has advanced. The fact that we had to reveal ourselves to stop them means the real invasion is about to begin. As if summoned by his words, the chamber's sensors detected something at the edge of the galaxy. Long-range telescopes focused on the approaching darkness, and the assembled representatives saw their worst fears confirmed. A wall of absolute nothingness was moving toward them from intergalactic space. It stretched across light years, consuming everything in its path. Stars winked out as it passed, leaving only empty void behind. The Devourers had returned, and they were hungry. How long do we have? Asked Ambassador Nell. 6 months, Rex replied. Maybe less. What can we do? Rex looked at each representative in turn, his eyes holding the weight of 50,000 years of preparation. You can trust us. For the first time in galactic history, you have guardians who are ready for this fight. We spent 50 millennia preparing for this moment. Outside the station, more human ships were arriving every hour, not just from Earth but from hidden bases throughout the galaxy. Ancient arsenals were opening, revealing weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. Defensive networks that spanned entire sectors were coming online. But most importantly, humanity itself was changing. Across every human world, people were remembering who they truly were. The genetic locks that had kept them small and forgettable were breaking down, revealing the warriors and protectors they had always been meant to be. The exile is over, Rex announced to the assembled galaxy. Humanity has come home, and this time, we're going to win. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the ancient guardians prepared for the The massive alien ship moved through space like a shadow. Its black hull absorbed all light, making it almost invisible against the stars. This was the Crimson Fang, home to some of the galaxy's most feared hunters. Captain Vex stood on the bridge, his tall figure casting a long shadow. His species, the Caltharians, were born to hunt. They had long arms, sharp claws, and most importantly, they could smell things from very far away. Not just any smell. They could detect the blood of different species across entire star systems. "Captain," called his tactical officer Grimm from his station. "The scent analyzers are picking up something new." Vex's eyes lit up with interest. In his 40 years of hunting, he had tracked down dozens of species across the galaxy. Each hunt was like a game to him. Some species fought back, others tried to hide, but all of them eventually fell to Caltharian superiority. "Show me," Vex ordered, walking over to the main screen. The display showed a 3D map of nearby star systems. A faint red trail stretched across space like a thread of smoke. This trail represented blood particles that had been scattered in space during some kind of battle. "The scent is coming from the Kepler 442 system," Grimm reported. "But Captain, this is strange. The blood pattern doesn't match any species in our database." Weapons specialist Reyes looked up from his console. He was shorter than the other Caltharians, but twice as dangerous. His hands were always ready to grab a weapon. "A new species? It's been 3 years since we found fresh prey." Vex smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Excellent. Set course for the source of this scent. I want to know everything about these creatures before we begin the hunt." The Crimson Fang turned smoothly and jumped into hyperspace. As they traveled, the crew gathered in the main hall to discuss their discovery. This was tradition. Before every hunt, they would share stories and plan their approach. "Remember the Zetalians?" Reyes said, laughing. "They thought their metal skin would protect them. Took us only 2 days to figure out how to cut through it." "The Vorthon were smarter," added another hunter named Pike. "They tried to hide in gas, clouds, but you can't hide your blood scent from us." Grimm pulled up holographic images of their previous hunts. Each image showed a different alien species, and each one had been defeated by the Caltharians. Some had tried to fight with weapons, others had attempted to negotiate. A few had even tried to run to other galaxies. None of it mattered. The Caltharians always won. "This new species will be no different," Vex declared. "We are the apex predators of this galaxy. Nothing can stand against us." But even as he spoke these confident words, something about the blood trail bothered him. Most species left fear scent when they bled. The chemical signature of terror was always mixed with their blood during battles. This new blood was different. It smelled of something else entirely. The ship dropped out of hyperspace near the Kepler 442 system. Immediately, their sensors began working, trying to track the source of the blood trail. The scent was stronger here, much stronger. "Captain," Grimm called out, "I'm detecting debris from a recent battle, multiple ship fragments, weapon discharge residue, and, Captain, there's a lot of blood." "Good," Vex replied. "That means they know how to bleed. Scan for survivors or nearby vessels." The main screen lit up with the battle site. Pieces of destroyed ships floated in space. Some were clearly pirate vessels. Vex recognized their crude design. But there were other ship parts he had never seen before. These pieces were different. They were built with strange materials and had an unusual design. "The unknown species fought pirates here," Grimm reported. "From the debris patterns, it looks like they won." This made Vex pause. Pirates were dangerous fighters. They had good weapons and knew how to use them. For an unknown species to defeat, pirates in space combat suggested they had some skill. "Show me the blood analysis," Vex ordered. Numbers and chemical formulas appeared on the screen. Reyes studied them carefully. He was expert at reading blood signatures to understand a species' strengths and weaknesses. "This is interesting, Captain," Reyes said slowly. "The blood contains high levels of adrenaline compounds, much higher than normal." "Fear response?" Vex asked. "No, that's the strange part. These aren't fear chemicals, they're combat enhancement chemicals." It's like their blood becomes stronger during fights. The bridge fell silent. This was new. Every species they had hunted showed the same pattern. Their blood carried fear markers when they were in danger. Fear made prey weak and easy to catch. Maybe it's a mistake in the analysis, suggested Pike. Run it again, Vex ordered. The results came back the same. The blood of this unknown species didn't carry fear markers. Instead, it carried chemicals that suggested they became more dangerous when threatened. Continue tracking, Vex decided. We need to observe them directly. The Crimson Fang followed the blood trail deeper into the system. Their advanced sensors could detect even the smallest traces of genetic material across vast distances. The trail led them toward a large planet with blue oceans and green continents. Captain, I'm detecting a large vessel approaching the planet, Grim announced. It's massive, at least 50 times bigger than our ship. On the screen appeared the strangest vessel Vex had ever seen. It wasn't built for war like most ships. Instead, it looked like it was designed to carry many people. The hull was thick and strong, but it also had windows and docking bays that suggested peaceful purposes. A colony ship, Reyes observed. They're not military. Perfect, Vex said. Colonists are usually easy prey. They're focused on building, not fighting. But something nagged at him as he watched the huge ship move toward the planet. The vessel moved with purpose and precision. Its course was efficient and its energy readings showed excellent power management. These were signs of good engineering and smart planning. Begin deep scans, Vex ordered. I want to know everything about this ship and the creatures inside it. As their sensors probed the colony vessel, the data that came back was puzzling. The ship carried thousands of life forms, all of the same unknown species. But unlike other colony ships they had encountered, this one had extensive defensive systems hidden throughout its structure. Captain, Grim said, this colony ship has more weapons than some military vessels I've seen. Interesting, Vex mused. A species that arms their civilian ships. They must come from a dangerous part of space. The scans also revealed the species themselves. They were bipedal, like many intelligent species but smaller than Caltharians. They had no natural claws or armor. Their teeth were mostly flat, suggesting they weren't natural predators. By all appearances, they should be easy prey. They look weak, Reyes commented, studying the biological scans. Small, soft, no natural weapons. Then why do I feel uneasy? Vex wondered aloud. The Crimson Fang moved closer, using its advanced cloaking systems to remain invisible. Caltharian technology was far superior to most species. They could hide their ship completely from normal sensors. As they watched, they saw the colony ship begin deploying smaller vessels. These ships moved in organized patterns around the larger vessel, creating what looked like a protective formation. They're cautious, Pike observed. Most prey species don't think about defense when they're colonizing. Maybe they learned to be careful after fighting those pirates, Grim suggested. Vex continued watching, but his excitement about the hunt was mixed with growing curiosity. This species was different from their usual prey. They were organized, well-armed, and their blood suggested they became stronger under pressure rather than weaker. Begin full surveillance, he finally ordered. I want to understand these creatures before we reveal ourselves. Something tells me this hunt will be unlike any we've attempted before. The Crimson Fang settled into a hidden position, its sensors focused on the colony ship. The crew prepared their equipment and weapons, but for the first time in years, Captain Vex felt uncertain about the outcome. In the depths of space, the hunters began to watch their prey, not knowing that this decision would change everything they thought they knew about hunting and being hunted. The colony ship New Horizon moved slowly toward the blue planet below. Inside the massive vessel, 50,000 humans went about their daily tasks, completely unaware that death was watching them from the darkness of space. Captain Marcus Reed stood in the ship's command center, reviewing reports from his department heads. The recent pirate attack had damaged several systems, and his crew was working around the clock to make repairs. Engineering report, Tom, Reed called to his chief engineer. Tom Blake looked up from his tablet, wiping grease from his hands. He was a practical man who had spent 20 years keeping ships running in deep space. "We've got the main engines. Back to full power, Captain. But the sensor array took some hits. We're running at about 60% detection range." "Security status?" Reed asked, turning to Commander Lisa Ward. Ward was a former military officer with sharp eyes that missed. Nothing. She had served in 3 different wars before joining the colony mission. "All weapon systems are operational. I've got patrol ships running regular sweeps around the perimeter. But Captain, something's bothering me." "What is it?" "The sensor. Readings from the past few hours show some unusual energy signatures. Nothing concrete, but my instincts are telling me we're not alone out here." Reed nodded. He trusted Ward's instincts. In his experience, paranoid security officers lived longer than confident ones. "Keep running those sweeps, double the patrol, schedule if you need to." Meanwhile, aboard the Crimson Fang, Captain Vex was becoming more puzzled by the minute. He had been observing the human colony ship for 12 hours and nothing made sense. "Grim, show me their work patterns again," Vex ordered. The main screen displayed a timeline of human activities. Unlike other species the Caltharians had studied, the humans worked in shifts that covered every hour of the day. When some slept, others took their places. The ship never stopped functioning. "They don't rest as a group," Grim observed. "Every other species we've hunted has periods when most of them sleep together. These creatures maintain full alertness constantly." "Look at this," Reyes added, pointing to another display. "When they detected damage from the pirate attack, they didn't panic. They immediately organized repair teams and had backup systems running within minutes." Vex studied the data. Most prey species showed confusion and fear when their ships were damaged. Humans had responded with calm efficiency that impressed even him. "Captain," Pike called from his station, "one of them is coming outside." On the screen they watched as an airlock opened on the colony ship. A figure in a spacesuit emerged, carrying tools and equipment. This was Tom Blake, preparing to repair the damaged sensor array. "Perfect," Vex said. "We can capture one for study. Prepare the collection beam." The Crimson Fang moved closer, still hidden by its cloaking field. Caltharian technology could grab a single person from space without anyone noticing, if done carefully. Tom Blake floated near the damaged sensors, using his tools to replace burned components. He worked with steady hands, even though he was surrounded by the endless darkness of space. Most species showed fear when alone in the void. This human seemed comfortable, even relaxed. "Now," Vex whispered. A thin beam of energy reached out from the hidden ship. It was designed to collect biological samples without harming the target. The beam touched Tom's suit for just a moment, gathering skin cells and other genetic material, then withdrew. Tom paused in his work, looking around. For a second, he seemed to sense something, but then he shrugged and continued with his repairs. "Sample collected," Reyes reported. "Running analysis now." The results appeared on the screen within minutes. Vex read them with growing confusion. "This can't be right," he muttered. The biological analysis showed that humans were even stranger than their blood had suggested. Their muscle structure was designed for endurance rather than burst strength. Their brains were large relative to their body size, with complex neural networks that suggested high intelligence. But most surprising was their genetic code. It carried markers for something the Caltharians had never seen before: adaptive evolution. This species could change and improve rapidly when faced with challenges. "They're designed to survive," Grim said quietly. "Not just survive, to adapt and overcome." "Look at this neural activity pattern," Reyes added. "When stressed, their brains don't shut down like other species. They speed up. They think faster under pressure." Vex felt a chill run down his spine. Every successful predator knew the most important rule: understand your prey before you hunt. What he was learning about humans suggested they might not be prey at all. Back on the New Horizon, Tom Blake had finished his repairs and returned inside. He made his way to the engineering section, where his team was working on other damaged systems. "How did it go out there?" asked his assistant, a young woman named Kate. Fine, but I had the strangest feeling, Tom replied, like something was watching me. Space can play tricks on your mind, Kate said. All that emptiness makes you paranoid. Maybe, Tom agreed, but he made a mental note to mention it to Commander Ward. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Maya Patel was treating the wounded from the pirate attack. She was a brilliant scientist who had joined the colony mission to study alien life forms. As she worked, she noticed something interesting about the wounded humans. The injured crew members were healing faster than normal. Their bodies were producing enhanced levels of healing factors and immune responses. It was as if the stress of combat had triggered biological improvements. Interesting, she murmured, making notes on her tablet. What's interesting, Doc? Asked one of her patients. Your recovery rate. Combat stress seems to have activated dormant genetic sequences. You're healing about 30% faster than you should. The patient smiled weakly. Humans are tough, Doc. We don't break easily. Dr. Patel nodded, but her scientific mind was racing. If humans could adapt this quickly to physical trauma, what other improvements might be possible under different types of stress? Meanwhile, Captain Vex was calling a meeting of his senior officers. The information they had gathered was too important to ignore. What we're seeing challenges everything we know about prey species, he began. These humans don't behave like any creatures we've hunted before. They could still be defeated, Reyes insisted. Our technology is superior. Our weapons are more advanced. Is it? Vex asked. Look at their ship construction. Those aren't primitive materials. Their energy systems are efficient. Their design principles are sound. Grimm pulled up technical scans of the human vessel. The colony ship has redundant systems for everything. If we disable their main power, they have backup power. If we damage their engines, they have emergency thrusters. They've planned for every possible failure. That's not prey behavior, Pike observed. That's predator thinking. Exactly, Vex said. Prey species build ships to run away. These humans built a ship to survive anything. As if to prove his point, the human patrol ships began changing their movement patterns. Commander Ward had implemented new security protocols based on Tom Blake's report of feeling watched. They're adapting their defenses, Grimm noted, watching the patrol ships on the scanner. Without even knowing we're here, they're making it harder for us to approach undetected. Instinctive tactical thinking, Vex murmured. They sense danger and automatically respond to counter it. The more they observed, the more concerned the Caltharians became. Humans worked together with a level of coordination that impressed even experienced hunters. When problems arose, they solved them quickly and efficiently. When threatened, they became more focused rather than less. Captain, Reyes said slowly, what if these aren't prey animals at all? What if they're competitors? The bridge fell, silent. In all their years of hunting, the Caltharians had never encountered another predator species that could match their abilities. They were always the hunters, never the hunted. Impossible, Pike said, but his voice lacked conviction. Look at them. They're small, weak, have no natural weapons. Neither do we if you take away our technology, Grimm pointed out. And their technology might be better than we think. As they watched, the human colony ship began deploying additional defensive measures. Energy shields powered up around the vessel. Weapon systems that had been hidden came online. The ship transformed from a peaceful colony vessel into a fortress in space. They were hiding their true capabilities, Vex realized. This entire time we've been watching a warship disguised as a colony transport. Or maybe, Grimm suggested quietly, we've been watching a species that doesn't distinguish between civilian and military. Maybe they're all warriors. The thought sent another chill through Vex. A species where every individual was a potential soldier would be unlike anything they had ever faced. Continue observation, he ordered, but increase our distance. I want to learn more before we make any decisions. As the Crimson Fang pulled back to a safer distance, Captain Vex stared at the human ship on his screen. For the first time in his life, he wondered if the Caltharians had found something they couldn't hunt, something that might hunt them instead. 3 days had passed since the Crimson Fang began watching the human colony ship. What Captain Vex saw during those 3 days changed everything he thought he knew about hunting. It started with a crisis aboard the New Horizon. The ship's main, life support system had suffered a cascade failure. Warning alarms rang throughout the massive vessel as oxygen levels began dropping in several sections. "This is perfect," Reyes said excitedly from his position at the weapons console. "When they panic, we can strike." But the humans didn't panic. Captain Reed's voice echoed through the ship's communication system, calm and steady. "All hands, this is the captain. We have a life support emergency. Engineering teams Alpha through Delta report to your emergency stations. All other personnel, remain calm and follow emergency protocols." Within minutes, the Caltharians watched something incredible happen. Instead of running around in fear, the humans organized themselves with military precision. Teams of engineers spread throughout the ship, each group taking responsibility for a different section. "Look at this," Grimm said, pointing to his scanner. "Readings. They're not just fixing the problem. They're improving the entire system while they repair it." Tom Blake led the main engineering team to the central life support hub. His team worked with tools that seemed primitive compared to Caltharian technology, but they used them with skill that impressed even veteran hunters. "We need to reroute power from the secondary generators," Tom told his team. "Kate, I need you to crawl through that maintenance shaft and manually reset the oxygen recyclers. Jim, start building bypass circuits for the damaged sections." "Tom," Kate called out, "this shaft is barely big enough for me to fit through, and it's filled with electrical hazards." "I know," Tom replied. "Can you do it?" Kate smiled grimly. "Of course I can." What happened next made Captain Vex's blood run cold. Instead of sending Kate alone into danger, Tom organized his entire team to support her. They fed her tools through the shaft, guided her with constant communication, and had backup plans ready if anything went wrong. But more importantly, they worked for 72 hours straight without stopping. "That's impossible," Pike whispered, watching the human work crews on the scanner. "No species can maintain peak efficiency for 3 days without rest." "They're taking turns sleeping," Grimm observed, "but only for a few hours at a time. Most of them are staying awake and working." Dr. Maya Patel moved through the ship, checking on the work crews and monitoring their health. What she found amazed her. The humans weren't just staying awake, they were actually performing better under the extreme stress. "Your reaction times are 15% faster than normal," she told one exhausted engineer. "Your problem-solving abilities are enhanced. It's like stress activates something in human biology that makes us more capable." "Feels terrible, though," the engineer replied with a tired grin. "But we'll get through it. We always do." The phrase, "we always do," seemed to be repeated throughout the ship. Humans facing impossible challenges kept saying it to each other, and somehow they kept proving it true. On the Crimson Fang, the alien hunters watched with growing unease as the humans not only fixed their life support system, but completely rebuilt it to be more efficient than before. In 72 hours, they solved a problem that should have killed them and made their ship better than it was originally, Vex said slowly. "How is that possible?" "Captain," Reyes reported, "I've been analyzing their work methods. They don't just fix problems. They learn from them. Every challenge makes them stronger." "That's not normal prey behavior," Grimm added. "Every other species we've hunted becomes weaker when faced with difficulties. These humans become more dangerous." The situation got worse for the Caltharians when Commander Ward implemented new security measures. Her military instincts told her that the strange sensor readings from earlier meant they were being watched. "I want random patrol patterns from now on," she told her security teams. "Change course every 15 minutes. Use different ships each time. I want whoever is out there to think we're unpredictable." But Ward did something even more concerning. She began analyzing the sensor data with the help of Dr. Patel and the ship's computer specialists. "There's a pattern here," Dr. Patel said, studying the energy readings on her screen. "Something is definitely watching us. The readings are too consistent to be natural phenomena." "Can we track the source?" Ward asked. "I'm working on it," replied the ship's communication officer, a young man named Dave. "Give me a few more days to refine the algorithms." This news sent chills through the Caltharian crew. Their cloaking technology had never been detected by any species before. The idea that humans might be able to see through it was terrifying. How advanced is their technology? Vex wondered aloud. Maybe we should test it, Reyes suggested. A small probe, something that looks like space debris. See how they react. Vex agreed, and they launched a disguised surveillance device toward the human ship. The probe looked exactly like a piece of metal wreckage from the earlier pirate battle. Humans detected it within minutes. Captain, Dave called out from his station, we've got an unidentified object approaching from Sector 7. It's moving too precisely to be debris. Intercept and analyze, Ward ordered immediately. A human patrol ship moved to investigate the probe. Instead of simply scanning it, they used a tractor beam to pull it aboard for detailed examination. They're going to tear it apart and study it, Grimm said with alarm. If they figure out our technology. Destroy the probe, Vex ordered quickly. The probe exploded in a small flash of light, but the damage was already done. The humans had scanned it thoroughly before the self-destruct activated. Tom Blake studied the scan results with Dr. Patel and Commander Ward. This metal alloy isn't in our database, he said. The design principles are completely foreign. Someone is definitely watching us. Alien technology? Ward asked. Has to be, Dr. Patel replied. And based on the sophistication of the cloaking field we detected, they're technologically advanced. More advanced than us, Ward wanted to know. Tom considered this carefully. In some ways, yes. But advanced doesn't always mean better. Sometimes simple solutions work just as well as complex ones. This conversation was picked up by Caltharian sensors, and it worried Captain Vex more than anything else he had heard. The humans weren't intimidated by superior technology. They were already thinking about how to counter it. Over the next day, the humans did something that shocked even experienced hunters. They began actively hunting their watchers. Commander. Ward deployed sensor drones in a carefully planned pattern around the colony ship. Each drone used different detection methods: electromagnetic, gravitational, thermal, and even some experimental techniques that Dr. Patel had developed. If someone is watching us with cloaking technology, Ward explained to Captain Reed, they have to be somewhere. Cloaking hides you from sight, but it doesn't make you invisible to everything. The sensor net began working immediately. Within hours, the humans had narrowed down the possible location of their hidden observer to a small area of space. Captain, Grimm reported with barely controlled panic. They're getting close to finding us. Impossible, Vex said, but his voice lacked conviction. Our cloaking is perfect. Not perfect enough, Pike observed, watching the human sensor readings. They think like hunters, not prey. They're tracking us the same way we would track them. The realization hit Vex like a physical blow. These humans weren't just adapting to being hunted. They were hunting back. They had turned a disadvantage into an advantage and made their hunters into the hunted. They're predators, he whispered. We've been trying to hunt other predators. What do we do? Reyes asked. For the first time in his career, Captain Vex didn't have an answer. Every instinct told him to attack immediately, before the humans could locate them completely. But every piece of data they had gathered suggested that attacking humans made them more dangerous, not less. Captain, Grimm called urgently. The humans are launching more ships, multiple vessels all heading in different directions. On the screen they watched as human ships spread out in a search pattern that would eventually find the Crimson Fang. The ships moved with coordination and purpose that spoke of extensive military training. They're not colonists, Vex realized. They're all soldiers. Every single one of them. Or maybe, Pike suggested quietly, for humans there's no difference. The idea that an entire species could be composed of warriors was something the Caltharians had never encountered. It went against everything they understood about civilization and specialization. New contacts, Grimm reported. 3 more human ships just entered the system. The reinforcements weren't colony ships. They were clearly military vessels, armed and ready for battle. They moved to join the search pattern with practiced efficiency. They called for backup, Reyes said in amazement. While we were watching them, they were calling for help. Captain Vex stared at the tactical display showing human ships spreading throughout the system like a net. For the first time in his life he felt like prey. "Begin withdrawal," he ordered quietly. "Sir?" Grim asked, not sure he had heard correctly. "Begin withdrawal," Vex repeated more firmly. "But maintain distance. We need to study these creatures more before we decide our next move." As the Crimson Fang pulled back, the Crimson Fang moved through space at maximum speed, trying to stay ahead of the expanding human search pattern. Captain Vex stood on the bridge, watching his tactical display with growing concern. Red dots representing human ships were spreading throughout the Kepler 442 system like drops of blood in water. "They're coordinating faster than we anticipated," Grim reported from his station. "Each human ship is sharing data with all the others instantly. When one finds something, they all know about it immediately." "How is that possible?" Reyes demanded. "We're monitoring all their communication frequencies. They're not sending messages." Dr. Maya Patel had solved that puzzle aboard the New Horizon. She was working with Dave, the communications officer, on something that worried the aliens more than weapons. "Quantum entanglement communication," she explained to Captain Reed. "We can link our ships at the subatomic level. Information travels instantly between them faster than light, and it can't be intercepted or jammed." "How long to set it up?" Reed asked. "Already done," Dave replied with a grin. "Every ship in our fleet is now connected. When one of us finds something, we all know about it at the same moment." This technology was beyond what the Caltharians possessed. They could travel faster than light and cloak their ships, but instant communication across any distance was something they had never achieved. "Captain," Pike called out urgently. "The humans just changed their search pattern. All of their ships turned toward our location at exactly the same time." Vex felt ice in his veins. "They're tracking us in real time. Move to emergency speed, get us out of their sensor range." But the humans had anticipated this. Commander Ward had spent her career fighting enemies who tried to run when discovered. She knew how to cut off escape routes. "Tom," she called to the chief engineer over the quantum link, "can you predict where a cloaked ship would go if it was trying to escape the system?" Tom Blake studied the tactical map on his screen. His engineering mind thought about power requirements, fuel efficiency, and safe hyperspace jump points. "If I were them, I'd head for the asteroid field in Sector 12. Lots of cover and multiple jump points to other systems." "Dave, relay that to all ships," Ward ordered. "Set up a containment pattern around Sector 12. Aboard the Crimson Fang, Grim watched in horror as human ships moved to block every escape route. "They're not just tracking us," he said. "They're thinking like us. They know where we want to go before we go there." "That's impossible," Vex insisted. "They've never seen our technology before. How can they predict our tactics?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Patel was analyzing the probe fragments they had collected before it self-destructed. Her scientific mind was working on the problem like a puzzle. "Look at this power signature," she told Tom, pointing to her readings. "This ship uses the same basic principles as our engines, just more advanced. Whoever built this thinks about physics the same way we do." "Meaning?" Tom asked. "Meaning they're not aliens in the way we usually imagine aliens. They're like us, logical, practical, following the same universal laws. If we can think of a solution, so can they. But if they can think of a solution, so can we." This realization was spreading throughout the human fleet. The mysterious Watchers weren't magical or incomprehensible. They were just another intelligent species with advanced technology, and humans had been dealing with advanced technology for centuries. Captain Vex made a desperate decision. "Activate the distress signal." "Sir?" Grim asked in confusion. "Send a fake distress call. Make it look like we're a damaged merchant vessel under attack by pirates. When they come to investigate, we can study them more closely." It was a classic Caltharian hunting trick. Prey species always responded to distress calls from their own kind. The predators would hide near the signal and attack whoever came to help. The Crimson Fang moved to a position near the edge of the system and began broadcasting a distress signal in a frequency that matched human communication patterns. "Unknown vessel. This is merchant ship Star Trader," the fake message said. "We are under attack by unknown hostiles. Our engines are damaged. Please assist if you receive this message. Aboard the New Horizon, the message was received and analyzed. Within seconds, Dave looked up from his console with a puzzled expression. Captain, we're receiving a distress call, but something's wrong with it. What kind of wrong? Reed asked. The language patterns are too perfect. It's like someone learned our language from a textbook instead of speaking it naturally. And the ship name Star Trader doesn't appear in any of our databases. Commander Ward studied the message data. Her military experience told her this was a trap. It's bait, she said simply. Whoever has been watching us wants us to come closer. Could be a test, Dr. Patel suggested. They want to see how we respond to what looks like a threat to one of our own. Captain Reed considered the options. The smart thing would be to ignore the obvious trap. But Reed had spent his career making difficult decisions, and he understood something important about human nature. We're going to respond to the distress call, he announced. Sir? Ward asked, surprised. But not the way they expect. Reed continued. If they want to see how humans react, let's show them exactly how we react. What happened next was something the Caltharians had never experienced in all their years of hunting. Instead of sending a few ships to investigate, the humans sent everything. The entire fleet moved toward the distress signal. But they didn't come as rescuers. They came as an army. Captain, Grimm reported with growing panic. Every human ship in the system is heading our way. And they're not coming to help. They're coming to fight. The human fleet moved in perfect formation. Military ships took point positions while the colony ship stayed protected in the center. Each vessel had its weapons powered and shields raised. They know it's a trap, Vex realized. But they're coming anyway. Why would they do that? Reyes asked. Dr. Patel answered that question without knowing it, speaking to her own crew over the quantum link. If there really is someone out there who needs help, we'll save them. If it's a trap, we'll spring it on our terms and deal with whoever set it. That's insane, Pike whispered aboard the alien ship. They're walking into an obvious trap because they can't stand the idea that someone might actually need help. And they're bringing enough firepower to destroy anyone who tries to hurt them. Grimm added, reading the weapon signatures of the approaching human fleet. Captain Vex stared at his tactical display. Every dot representing a human ship was moving with purpose and coordination. They weren't coming as victims. They were coming as conquerors. They turned our trap into their trap, he said quietly. The human fleet stopped just outside weapons, range of the fake distress signal. For a moment both sides waited, each trying to understand what the other would do next. Then Captain Reed opened a communication channel on all frequencies. This is Captain Marcus Reed of the human colony ship. New Horizon, his voice echoed through space. We received your distress call. However, our analysis suggests this may be a deception. We are prepared to provide assistance if you genuinely need help. We are also prepared to defend ourselves if you have hostile intentions. He paused, then continued with words that sent chills through every Caltharian on the bridge. We know you have been watching us. We know you have advanced cloaking technology. We know you sent a probe to study us. We also know that you underestimated us. If you wish to communicate, you have 1 hour to respond. If you do not respond, we will assume hostile intent and take appropriate action. Appropriate action? Vex repeated. What does that mean? His question was answered when human ships began deploying something new. Each vessel released dozens of small devices that spread throughout the area like a cloud of metal insects. Those are hunter-killer drones, Ward explained to her crew. If our watchers don't want to talk, we'll find them and make them talk. The drones were equipped with every type of sensor the humans could build. They moved in coordinated swarms, scanning every cubic meter of space around the false distress signal. They're going to find us, Grimm said with certainty. Those drones will detect us within minutes. Captain Vex faced the hardest decision of his career. He could decloak and try to fight an entire human fleet. He could try to run and probably be caught by the expanding search pattern. Or he could do something no Caltharian had ever done in the history of their species. Open a communication channel, he ordered quietly. Sir? Reyes asked in shock. You heard me. Open a channel to the human fleet. Captain, we don't surrender, Pike protested. Caltharians are hunters, not prey. Look around you, Vex said sharply. We are surrounded by an entire fleet of ships, crewed by a species that becomes more dangerous when threatened. They've detected our technology, predicted our tactics, and turned our own trap against us. What exactly do you think we're hunting here? The bridge fell silent as the truth sank in. They weren't the hunters anymore. They hadn't been hunters from the moment they decided to follow the blood trail of a species that fought pirates and won. Open the channel, Vex repeated. As Grimm's hands moved over his controls, Captain Vex prepared to do something unprecedented in Caltharian history. He was about to talk to his prey, and hoped they were feeling merciful. The communication channel crackled to life with static, then cleared to reveal Captain Vex's image on the main screen of the New Horizon. His alien features, tall frame, sharp angles, predatory eyes, caused a stir on the human bridge, but Captain Reed remained calm. I am Captain Vex of the vessel Crimson Fang, the alien said, his voice carrying a mixture of pride and uncertainty. We received your message. Thank you for responding, Reed replied evenly. Are you the ones who have been observing us? There was a long pause. In all his years of hunting, Vex had never had to admit to being caught. Yes, he finally said. We have been watching your species. Why? Commander Ward asked, stepping into view of the camera. Her military bearing was unmistakable, and Vex instinctively recognized another predator. We are hunters, Vex said, then immediately regretted the admission. We detected your blood scent from the battle with pirates. We came to study you. Dr. Patel moved closer to the screen, her scientific curiosity overcoming caution. You can track blood scent across interstellar distances? That's incredible technology. Our species evolved to hunt, Vex explained, not sure why he was being so honest. We can detect genetic markers from great distances. It has made us very successful. Until now, Tom Blake observed from his engineering station. The words hit Vex like a physical blow. Until now, he agreed quietly. Captain Reed leaned forward. Captain Vex, I need to ask you a direct question. Did you come here to harm us? Another long pause. Vex looked around his bridge at his crew. Grimm, Reyes, and Pike all watched him, waiting for his answer. The honest truth was that they had come to hunt humans. But after everything they had observed, that seemed like madness. We came here believing you were prey, Vex said finally. We were wrong. Prey? Ward's voice carried a dangerous edge. You came here to hunt us? Yes, Vex admitted. But we have learned that humans are not prey. You are something else entirely. The human bridge fell silent as they processed this information. They had suspected they were being stalked, but having it confirmed was different. How many species have you hunted? Dr. Patel asked, her voice quiet. Dozens, Vex replied. We are apex predators in this galaxy. Or we were until we encountered you. Were? Reed asked. Captain, Grimm interrupted on the alien bridge. The human drones are getting closer. They'll find us soon. Vex nodded, then looked back at the screen. Captain Reed, I must be honest with you. Our ship is cloaked and hidden, but your hunter drones will locate us within minutes. When they do, you will have us at a complete disadvantage. We already do, Reed pointed out. You're surrounded by our entire fleet. Yes, Vex agreed. That is why I'm speaking with you now. In all our years of hunting, we have never encountered a species like yours. You become stronger under pressure. You think like predators. You hunt your hunters. We do not know how to fight something like that. Tom Blake looked up from his console. Captain, the drones have found them. The alien ship is at coordinates 247 Mark 15. It's... Wow. On the tactical display, the outline of the Crimson Fang appeared. It was sleek and deadly, designed for hunting. But surrounded by dozens of human ships, it looked small and vulnerable. Impressive ship, Ward observed. built for speed and stealth. It has served us well for many years, Vex said with something that might have been sadness. But it is not. Designed to fight an entire fleet. No, Reed agreed. It's not. Dr. Patel studied the alien ship's design on her screen. Captain Vex, your technology is advanced, but it's specialized. You're built to hunt individuals or small groups, not to fight wars. Wars? Vex asked, confused. Humans fight wars, Ward explained. Large-scale conflicts between entire populations. We don't just fight as individuals, we fight as a species. When you threaten one of us, you threaten all of us. This concept was alien to the Caltharians. They hunted alone or in small packs. The idea of an entire species fighting as one unit was something they had never encountered. That explains much, Vex said slowly. When we detected your blood, we thought we had found wounded prey. We did not realize we had found the aftermath of your victory. The pirates learned the hard way, Tom said with grim satisfaction. They attacked a human colony transport. We don't take that kind of thing well. How did you defeat them? Reyes asked from the alien bridge, his professional curiosity overcoming his fear. Carefully, Reed replied. Pirates expect civilian ships to run or surrender. They don't expect a colony transport to have hidden weapons and trained fighters. All of you are soldiers? Vex asked. Every human is a potential soldier, Ward answered. It's how we survived on our homeworld. Everything there wanted to kill. Us, the weather, the animals, the diseases, even the plants. We learned to fight as a species or we would have died as a species, Pike whispered to his captain. A world that breeds an entire species of warriors. No wonder they're so dangerous. Dr. Patel had been listening to the conversation with growing excitement. Captain Vex, this is fascinating. We've never met another intelligent species before. Could we arrange some kind of cultural exchange? There's so much we could learn from each other. The suggestion made both crews uncomfortable in different ways. The Caltharians had never thought of their prey as potential partners. The humans were talking to beings who had admitted they came to hunt them. Dr. Patel, Ward said carefully, these beings just told us they came here to hunt and kill us. But they didn't, Patel pointed out. They studied us instead. They learned. They changed their minds. Isn't that exactly the kind of intelligence we want to meet in the galaxy, Optine? Reed considered this. His primary duty was to protect the colonists and establish their new home. But humanity had always been curious about life beyond Earth. Captain Vex, he said, you say you're hunters. What happens when hunters find prey they can't catch? We find different prey, Vex replied automatically, then realized what he was saying. But you are not prey. No, we're not, Reed agreed. The question is, what are we? Vex thought about everything they had observed. Humans worked together with incredible coordination. They adapted to challenges instead of being defeated by them. They turned disadvantages into advantages. They hunted their hunters. You are competitors, he said finally. Other apex predators. Or, Dr. Patel suggested, we could be something else. We could be partners. The word hung in space between the two ships. Partnership was not a concept that came naturally to either species, but for different reasons. Humans form alliances, Tom explained. When we meet someone as dangerous as we are, we don't always fight them. Sometimes we work together. Work together how? Grimm asked. Trade technology, share information, watch each other's backs, Ward said. The galaxy is a big place. There's room for more than one predator species. Captain Vex looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him with expressions he had never seen before. Uncertainty, hope, maybe even relief. What would you want from us, he asked. Information, Reed replied immediately. You've traveled the galaxy. You know about other species, other technologies, other threats. We're new out here. We could use guides. And in return, Dr. Patel smiled. We teach you what we know. Human medicine, human engineering, human tactics. Maybe we even teach you better ways to hunt. Better ways to hunt? Vex asked, intrigued despite himself. Hunt pirates, slavers, tyrants, Ward suggested. There are plenty of things in this galaxy that need hunting. Why waste your skills on innocent species when you could hunt the real monsters? The idea was revolutionary. The Caltharians had always hunted for sport and pride. The concept of hunting for justice was something new. This is unprecedented, Pike said quietly. So is everything else about today, Vex replied. He looked back at the screen. Captain Reed, if we were to consider this partnership, what assurance do we have that you won't simply hunt us once you learn our weaknesses? Reed smiled grimly. Captain Vex, we already know your weaknesses. We've had your ship surrounded for the past hour. If we wanted to hunt you, the hunt would already be over. The truth of this statement was undeniable. The humans had outmaneuvered them completely. Instead, Reed continued, we're offering you something no prey species could ever offer. Respect. You're skilled hunters. We're skilled fighters. Together, we might be unstoppable. Captain Vex made a decision that would change both species forever. Very well, he said, but understand, if you betray us, we will hunt you to the ends of the galaxy. Understood, Reed replied. And if you betray us, you'll learn why we're the most dangerous species you've ever encountered. Both captains smiled, recognizing something familiar in each other. They were both predators, and they had just found their equals. As the two fleets began moving toward a rendezvous point, Tom Blake made an observation that would prove prophetic. You know, with our adaptability and their hunting skills, I almost feel sorry for whatever pirates we run into next. Dr. Patel laughed. I think the galaxy just became a much more dangerous place for the bad guys. She was right. The hunters had become partners, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same.